Y'all, I have been gone for 3 whole months. I cannot believe it. But y'all, I have some amazing things to share with you next. Stay tuned. All right, I took a break. I had to get myself together. I had to get things together, and I think it all worked together for the good because I'm back. I'm better, and this channel is going to be better for you because not only are you be able to come here for spiritual encouragement, emotional support, things like that, but you'll also be able to come here to get guidance in your business, to get guidance in biblical things that are going to help you to be a better business owner, to be a better mother, to be a better wife, to be, just a better individual out here in the world. If you want to be excellent in anything that you do, you're going to have, a set of accountability. You're going to have a certain kind of fear or reverence for God to make sure that you're able to make the right decisions in your life. One of the important things that I think that you need to know before I move on is the things that I learned while I was away. I learned some really cool things while I was away, some things that helped me, some things that are really going to push me moving forward, and I think that they're going to do the same for you. I'll start with John Maxwell. He is a leadership expert. He has taught people all over the world about leadership and how you should implement leadership in your life. But one thing that he said is that growth is the only guarantee that tomorrow will be better. And it is the only guarantee that we have that tomorrow is going to be better. When we move forward, when we push ourselves, when we are intentional about growing, becoming better, doing something different with our lives, then we can expect tomorrow to be better because we're moving towards something. We're moving towards a goal. We're moving further. We are moving beyond our current situation. And anytime you're doing that, you're putting yourself in a better position. So growth is key. Number 2, just because you say something, it doesn't mean that you get it. I'll say this, action/implementation is the only marker that you have. We can all say that we're gonna do something. We can all say that we understand something, but until we actually put action behind what we say, we don't really get it. We don't really understand it the way that we think that we do. And that is the only way that we can understand it better, when we start to implement it, when we start to put action behind our words. That's where we learn the best. So just because you say that you know something or you've heard something before, it only means that it's in your mind, but you have to make that thing or allow that thing to get down into your heart. It has to get into your heart and cause you to put action towards that. It has to give you a sense of security, but faith that you can do what you put your mind to. Put action behind your words. Another thing that I learned is that you have to have a different kind of self-reliance, not the kind that says, I'm only going to be dependent on myself, not God. I'm going to be dependent on what I can do, not what God can do. No, it says that I have to be accountable to myself, to my decisions that I make. I have to not just let myself slide if I don't do what I said I was going to do. I have to actually do something about it. I got to actually make something happen. And how can I do that if I don't hold myself accountable? We're adults. So nobody's going to hold you accountable and say, you got to get up and do this. You got to make sure you go there. You got to make sure this happens. You got to do it on your own. So if you want something to change in your life, something to happen, you got to become a self-reliant individual, someone that can rely on yourself to give you the drive that you need. You can't always depend on somebody else. Motivational videos are great, awesome, but you got to be able to look within yourself and dig deep and understand what your why is, what your reasons are for why you want to change and shift things in your life. So I learned that, hey, you got to work harder to be self-accountable. You got to make sure that you are giving yourself that slap if you need it. Whatever you need to get some fire under your feet, you need to make sure that you do that for yourself. Number 4, separate. I learned that you have to separate. You can't impact what you join. For me, personally, you know, I've done a lot of drinking in the past, but you know, I was still kind of drinking a little bit, and you know, drinking wines and, you know, small little cocktails and things of that nature. But I realized that, and I already decided this before I took my break. However, I was still, you know, okay with drinking like a little wine here and there. But I made a decision that I didn't want to do that. How can I impact the things that, you know, I am joining? And somebody might be offended by that and think, oh, well, you know, I'm not, you know, but certain environments, certain things, you know, I just didn't want to be a part of. And I didn't want to, if I were in those environments, to be, you know, the same. I wanted to stand out and be different. I wanted to separate myself. So I think that it's important in whatever you do, whatever decision that you make, to separate yourself from the rest some kind of way. Broad is the way that leads to destruction, or broad is the way that everybody goes. The road is full of people who are doing the same things all the time. But if you can stand out, do something a little bit different, and separate yourself when it comes time for you to go back to those areas, when it comes time for you to truly give impact to those things, you can do that because you're not in the same arenas. You know, you're doing something different. Your mindset is different. Your perspectives are different. That was a great thing for me to implement in my life. And, you know, just an encouragement to you. If you think that maybe drinking is an impeding factor in your life, then maybe you could do the same. All right, number 5, self-awareness. Know your limitations. You gotta know exactly what you're able to do and what you're not able to do. Sometimes I think that we are very prone to just doing a whole lot of things at once, and we just kind of pack it on like, oh, I can do that, I can do that. I don't have any issues with doing this and this, saying yes to everything, not realizing that we do have limitations. There is only so much that we can do. You know, I always say you are not limited, and I truly believe that you are not limited. But what I mean by that is that you can do everything that God empowered you to do. And it doesn't matter, you know, your status or your current situation. You are not limited to that. But I do believe that, you know, we are human beings. So we have physical, fleshly limitations. There are just some things that we cannot, like we can't stay up for 24 hours, you know, 5 times a week and think that we're going to be healthy, you know, or like mentally stable. So there's just some things that we just got to know, you know, about ourselves, and make sure that we can plan accordingly. It goes into number 6, which is be realistic about your time frames. Give yourself grace, but not too much leniency. Do what you say when you're going to do it, but don't beat yourself up about it if you don't. So it's okay to, you know, have all these goals, but if you don't meet your goals at the, you know, set deadline, don't beat yourself up about it if you don't reach it. Don't, you know, overwhelm yourself with all of these thoughts, these negative, disempowering thoughts. Make sure that you give yourself the opportunity to empower yourself. I think that when you limit it to a certain like kinds of goals and types, and maybe not even with deadlines, as you reach those goals and cross them off your list, that empowers you. That gives you, you know, encouragement. That gives you joy. Like, I just did that. I made sure that I got all that stuff done. I put that out. I released that. That was written. Whatever it was, you feel better about yourself when you accomplish things. So be realistic about your time frames. 7, find someone or some people that you can impact. That is something that I've also learned. And, you know, I think that's important because it really goes into our service, understanding that we are ministers, that we are servants, and that, you know, we impact others. The more that we can impact others, the more that it gives life to our own self. When we can find people who are in need, or when we can give of ourselves, when we can share, you know, the things that we know, share the experiences that we have, and give them, you know, to others in a different perspective, in a different light, give them the opportunity to grow as well. That empowers us, that helps us to be better and to grow as well. If you want to make more money, you have to make more impact. Ultimately, you know, it is a spiritual law. It is a spiritual thing. You know, wealth is a spiritual aspect, and it has a spiritual aspect to it because it involves things like communication, and it involves, you know, your heart and compassion and things like that. So you really have to understand how you can impact, learn, and think about, you know, how can I be a blessing to others? How can I, you know, give and share what I have learned, and, you know, impact and bring other people value, because then that will be more valuable to me. And the more skills that you have, the more you increase. Again, the more you grow, the better that you're going to get and that your future is going to be. And last but not least, man cannot serve God and mammon. I've heard that and I've understood that all my life. But, you know, if you always decide based off money, if you always decide, make your decisions based off of like what makes the most money, what's going to satisfy me the most, satisfy my flesh the most, if you think of it like that all the time, then you somehow kick God out of the plans. And the idea is not to do that. You want to put God first in your plans, acknowledge him in all of your ways so that he can direct you. And you got to trust that he's going to direct you and lead you in the right place. So you have to think, what is going to be the best things that I can do that aligns with what God has said about me, that aligns with what he said about my future, that aligns with what I know about God. And you can't serve, you know, mammon and serve God at the same time. So you have to really truly trust God, learn how you can trust God in this season in 2024, and, you know, be able to trust and believe that through your growing, through your learning, through your skill acquisition, that you're going to be in a better position. You're going to be prepared so that when the door opens, you can walk through it. You can walk through it and you won't have any opposition. You might have a little opposition, but you'll have the tools. You'll be equipped with what you need to be able to overcome that opposition. So y'all, I'll just kind of do a recap. Growth is the only guarantee that tomorrow will be better. Just because you say something doesn't mean that you're going to get it. You got to put action, implementation behind what you say. All right. Self-reliance, have self-reliance and accountability. Separate. You need to separate from those and from those environments, from those people, from those habits that are not serving you, that will not serve you for 2024. Got to be self-aware, know your limitations, know the things that maybe, you know, you're not strong in, know what your weaknesses are. So maybe you can hire for those, or you can add on, you know, for those, or, you know, some kind of way outsource your weaknesses. That's great. Be realistic about your timelines. Don't beat yourself up if you're not able to meet your timelines or your deadlines, but just give yourself the grace and the space to do the things that you have desired to do. You got to make more impact in order to make more money. But remember, as you're making that money, do not fall in love with the money. Fall in love with the people so that you can use the money to serve the people. Why? Because you cannot serve God and mammon. All right, y'all. So I hope y'all enjoyed that. I cannot wait to go further and further in this journey with you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time in the next video. Bye.